think we're live.
I think we're live. All right.
Yeah.
Hello, everyone. Happy Monday. Happy MLK Day. Yeah, I'm here producing today. So if there are technical difficulties, I rely on the chat. So you guys let us know. Make sure you can hear us, see us, everything like that. I'm going to do my best to kind of drive the ship here. But I'm here with Jayhawk. How's it going, man? I know we've had a few games already today. I didn't get a chance to play the early slates, but how you feeling about this main slate here, which stretches from 7 to 10:30 Eastern? They did not chop any games off tonight.
Yeah, man. Kind of interesting. They kept the late game on the slate here. Very questionable value was kind of my first look at the slate. Obviously, Dennis Smith Jr. is chalk. We'll obviously talk about him, and then yeah, kind of an interesting slate. No Jalen Brown tonight,
Mhm.
so big bump to the Boston guys there as well.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, we could quickly go through team by team and talk about the injury report, but yeah, I mean, the one I guess value piece we have is one I know we don't always feel great about. That is Thad Young. I guess if he gets a start at center again here for Jakob Portal, he's going to be kind of tough to get away from. Definitely prefer him on FanDuel where you could use him at power forward, but I guess with two centers on DK, is he someone you could see yourself getting to tonight? I know he's kind of a controversial topic, but he has been producing pretty well lately.
Yeah, he's definitely a controversial topic. I know we were both on Boucher a couple nights ago. And Boucher pretty much he got a couple minutes, but Thad started and played most of the game. So yeah, if he starts, I think he looks pretty solid once he in. So definitely an interesting talking point there as well.
Yeah, so I did just pull up. We have the 5:30 injury report. I think the model's since updated, but let's just talk through quickly. I guess team by team, pretty quick, just on injuries. Again, there's only 5 games. I think we should get through pretty easily. But yeah, so first we have the Bulls. I'm looking through. I mean, Ayo's available. Patrick Williams is questionable. I think that's the one guy who's regularly in the rotation that isn't like Alonzo Ball that's been out all year. So I mean, it's not a great matchup, obviously, against Cleveland. We're seeing some ownership going to Levine, Caruso. Williams, if he's in, will draw some ownership. But I guess, is there anyone here you're interested in? And if Williams is out, is there anyone you're going to flock to? I mean, it's not a great matchup regardless, but we have seen guys like AO or Caruso pop in the past.
Yeah, not particularly. No one really pops out really hard. I was all over Nikola Vucevic the other night against San Antonio without Wemby.
Mm,
But tonight in this matchup, I'm not really that huge on Vucevic against Jarrett Allen and the Cavs. So
yeah.
I think they're all in play. Maybe we could give a minor bump to maybe a guy like Dalen Terry if Patrick Williams is out if he starts, but really tough to get to anyone in my opinion.
Yeah, I kind of agree. I mean, they could move Caruso down to the wing, and DeRozan has started power forward before, so I think that's the lineup we're going to see if Williams is out. So yeah, and again, low total, tough to get excited about anything there. On the other side, we do have Cleveland. Still no Darius Garland. Still no Evan Mobley. I think that's it. It looks like we also have Struce is questionable. I guess if he's out, that could open some things up on the wing. Me personally, I really like Donovan Mitchell tonight at his ownership. Seems lower owned probably than he should be here with no Garland or Mobley still. Pretty soft defensive matchup against the Bulls. But what are your takes on the Cavs as things stand? Pretty shocked to see 30% Sam Merrill over on FanDuel too. That's something I'm probably comfortable fading.
Yeah, I don't really. I mean, we don't have a confirmed truce, out yet. So 30% for Sam Merrill as of right now, I don't like at all. I'm right there with you. And then yeah, you mentioned Donovan Mitchell on both sides. I think he's an elite contrarian spend up. Obviously coming off a 75 DraftKings point game. Just another pretty solid matchup against Chicago here. So yeah, I really like Donovan Mitchell in tournaments tonight.
Yeah, man, I'm right there with you. And I mean, only a 4 point spread for Cleveland, who's obviously probably the better team, but they haven't been all that great with Mobley and Garland out. So, yeah, I definitely want to get some Mitchell, but we'll get back to that when we talk about the guards. Just continuing to go through the injury report here. Next, we have the Celtics. You already brought up that Jalen Brown's out. That is the one piece of injury news they have that's significant. It sounds like Horford's going to be in here alongside Porzingis. So I guess the question becomes: is Sam Hauser someone you're getting to if he starts? I know he's kind of boomer bust, especially with that first unit where he's sharing usage. But on a slate where we don't have a ton of value, I don't think it's crazy. But I guess for me, more than anything, I'm probably going to want to get more Tatum, more Derek White, maybe a little bit of Drew. But I guess what's your take here on Boston?
Yeah, I'm right. The exact same with you. I really like Derek White and
Mm-hmm.
Jason Tatum. I
Mm-hmm.
think they're both a little bit underpriced, with no Jalen Brown. And then, yeah, you mentioned Sam Hauser. I hate to say it, but at 3,900 with the value we're lacking today, as of right now, I'm getting to a lot of him.
Yeah.
It's I don't love it. Sam Hauser, really reliant off the 3 point line. But if he starts here, he should play around 30 minutes. So I hate to say it, but I do like him here as value.
Yeah, I mean, I wish he was a little bit lower owned, but he's going to be tough to get away from. I will say he's probably going to come off the bench. I think we're going to see Horford next
Oh
to
yeah,
Porzingis against Toronto, who's not huge with Podol out, but Barnes, Siakam, Young, not the smallest front court. So I don't know. We'll wait and see on that. I definitely feel better about him if he starts, but I mean, in the same breath, it's like if he comes off the bench, he almost probably has a higher usage rate because he's not going to be sharing the floor with Tatum and White, etc. as much. So definitely something to keep an eye on. On FanDuel, 4,500. Don't love the price, but he is much lower owned. I mean, pushing 40% on DK. Tough to get excited about, but again, we have no value we love. On the other side of this one, we already kind of talked about Toronto. No Jakob Poeltl. Otto Porter Jr.'s out. Not that I would want to play him, but just good to know he's out, so we can maybe get to some of these other value guys like a Thad Young. But I mean, it's interesting. This team is maybe the most popular on the slate, other than Jakob Poeltl. They don't really have anyone out, so I'm a little bit confused by the heavy ownership here, especially against Boston. But I mean, Quickly's been really solid. Obviously, Scotty Barnes we can play any single night. Siakam on the trade block, but he's cheaper than he has been. So how do you feel about these Toronto Raptors? Because I like them, but I don't know that I like them as much as the field necessarily.
yeah, kind of the same. Kind of agree with you there. I don't know, like none of them. Like I'm not jamming a single one a ton in my lineups. RJ Barrett's been pretty solid, 6,500. I think that's a pretty, uh, you know, reasonable price tag for him. And then if that young's going to be like 30%, we have seen Jonte Porter play a good
Mm.
chunk of minutes. Obviously he's very boom bust, but if Thad Young's going to be really chalk, maybe we look at Jonte Porter a little bit more in tournaments. But yeah, I don't really understand the shooter chalk. If he does start, I don't think he will. He probably would look better, but I don't love shooter either.
Yeah, I think it's a price thing more than anything. I mean, I will say about Barrett, he's been decent. I'm trying to remember which game it was, but he got benched at half. I think, yeah, it was a pretty interesting situation there. I'm trying to think who they brought in for him. But yeah, I mean, he's still hitting value, even if he is benched at half. He's still closed, I think, whatever game that was. It was either the Lakers or Clippers. I can't remember which. It wasn't the Lakers he was going off that game. I think it was against the Clippers. But yeah, regardless, I mean, definitely has upside for his price. I don't mind it. But really, I mean, if Thad's starting, I do like getting to him. But you're right on Porter. I mean, he's seeing his price increase, but at the same time, I mean, he's over 20 fantasy points in back-to-back games. I think he had 30 last game, which is awesome to see. So, yeah, very low ownership. I think that's the first kind of low-owned value play we can maybe talk about a little bit. But yeah, moving right along here, just a couple more games. We got the Heat. Jimmy Butler did travel with the team. He's listed as questionable. Jaime Jaquez, after looking really good, is now hurt. No Kyle Lowry. Caleb Martin's available. Tyler Hero's available. Hampton and Kane are both out, down with the G League all of a sudden. So kind of an interesting situation. There's no Lowry or Hawkins, but we're probably getting Butler back. I don't know that we have that Butler news officially yet, but obviously he is going to take up some of that usage from the starting unit. But I mean, Jovic is probably going to start again. He's priced up, but he has been pretty solid. I think the model likes him as far as value goes for this team. But yeah, where are you on the Miami Heat here? I'm a little bit surprised this total's as low as it is too against the Nets, but I guess that's just a product of I don't even know. I mean, the Heat have been playing pretty slow, but the Nets defense really hasn't been great lately.
Yeah, man. So I really want Butler to be out today. I know he's probably going to play because if Butler was out, I would have loved Tyler Hero here, especially with Lowry already out. 8,100. Guards against Brooklyn, particularly shooting guards, one of the best matchups. We just saw Donovan Mitchell go off against them. So would have really liked Hero here, but with Butler most likely back, it's really tough for me to prioritize anyone here. You mentioned Jovic. I think he'd probably be the guy I'd look to the most if I'm getting to anyone.
Yeah, and I will say I do like the matchup for Bam. Like Claxton, they've been playing this like drop defense where he's not always at the rim, so that would benefit him. And shouts out to Chuck from our NBA team. He just let us know that Jimmy is in. So yeah, that kind of makes everyone else look a little bit worse, unfortunately. So probably not going to get to too much of the Miami Heat. But moving into Brooklyn now here. Um, yeah, this one's interesting. So we got Dennis Smith Jr. chalk tonight, and he's a guy I've been playing a lot when he's low owned because he comes off the bench, very high fantasy point per minute rate, really demands the ball. But at the same time, I mean, I can't really wrap my head around these ownerships. I think it's just because we're lacking value. 4,800 on DK does feel a little bit too cheap. 23 minutes though. I mean, there's definitely going to be some risk on that. Um, so yeah, man, this is a weird one, and I know we talked briefly about this before we got on live, but yeah, how do you feel here with Dennis Smith Jr. as chalk, and are there any other Nets maybe you could see yourself pivoting to?
Yeah, I mean, I don't love it here, man. Like 4,800, I get it's cheap, and we lack a little bit of value,
Mm-hmm.
but we're really relying off him coming in and hitting his shots in the second unit. You mentioned he was seeing more rotation minutes, based off the way they're playing and other players around him.
Mm-hmm.
But I just like he's fine. I'll probably be around the field. I don't think I'm gonna go crazy with Dennis Smith tonight. I don't love it. How about you?
Yeah, I feel the same way. I'm hoping there's other value we can get to, but yeah, on that point, so the guy who's out for the Nets is Day'Ron Sharp, which is unfortunate. He's been playing really well. He's the backup center. Obviously, Smith isn't a center; he's a guard. But what it is doing in his absence is kind of creating this trickle down effect where we're seeing Finney Smith and Royce O'Neal slide into more center minutes, more minutes as bigs, which is opening up minutes on the wings, which is taking kind of I don't know, Cam Thomas making him more of a wing, etc. What it does is it does create minutes at point guard, just again, kind of as a trickle down, just because I can't think of a better way to explain it. But yeah, at the same time, I mean, he's not seeing that many minutes consistently. He played 22 last game, 29 the game before that. He had a really nice game that one, 24 the game before that. So he is hitting value in limited minutes, but again, it's limited minutes. Definitely a volatile piece of chalk if he's going to stay chalk. Again, a guy I'd much rather play if he was going to be low owned. But yeah, at this ownership, I'm pretty comfortable getting away, especially on FanDuel at 5,500, 25% owned even on a 5 game slate. Seems a bit insane to me. But yeah, we get this 9 o'clock game here. We get the Pacers and the Jazz. Bruce Brown's questionable. I didn't know that coming into the show. Still no Tyrese Halliburton. Naismith questionable. So this is one situation I guess that's pretty fluid. Yeah, if Naismith is out, that probably opens up some minutes for Obi Toppin. We're seeing Jalen Smith pretty popular on both sides. Kind of inconsistent minutes with him. I know I sound like a broken record when I say this, but Carlisle is one of these coaches that's very, very difficult to read. I love Benedict Mathurin. I think he's their best player offensively, but for whatever reason, Carlisle doesn't want to give him 30 minutes tonight, per night. We have him for 26, which I think is a safe projection. Maybe if a few of these other guys are ruled out, especially a Bruce Brown, we could feel a little bit better about that. I did see someone in chat, let me pull it up, Unicorn Love mentioning TJ McConnell 6,800 over on FanDuel. McConnell, I mean, kind of like Dennis Smith, but maybe on steroids, for lack of a better term. I mean, he does really well when he's on the floor, but the minutes are inconsistent. With no Halliburton, he has seen decent run, but Nemhard is the starting point guard there. I would feel better about McConnell if Brown's out, but yeah, how do you feel about these Pacers? And is there any piece of news that's really going to shift things for you, whether it be Brown or Naismith, or are you just kind of, I don't know, staying away? Because, again, Carlisle's just a tough coach to read when it comes to minutes.
Yeah, so if Bruce Brown was ruled out, you mentioned Benedict Mathurin. I love Mathurin as a player. Should see
Mm-hmm.
more minutes to Mathurin here in an awesome game environment.
Right.
In this game, I just love targeting both sides. We'll get to the other side, but would love Mathurin. And then between Nimhard and McConnell, Nimhard just hasn't shown us a huge ceiling here, and then McConnell's now priced up, so it's really tough for me to get to a ton of people from the Indiana side. I think Mathurin would probably be my favorite guy to get from here.
Yeah, and I'm with you, man. Mathurin is awesome. I just don't get what Carlisle's doing, consistently bringing him off the bench, capping him around 25 minutes. It's like, just let the kid run. I mean, especially with Halliburton out. Like, who's the offense here? Buddy Hield's super inconsistent. I don't know. I don't mind Miles Turner as a center play, but definitely a situation we have to keep an eye on. And there is a big gap between those 7:30 games and this 9 o'clock and the 10:30 game. The biggest piece of news is SGA is questionable. I don't know if we have that yet, but you're probably going to want to leave a little bit of room to pivot if you are locking in guys from the 7 and 7:30 games. But yeah, let's use that to transition into Utah here. Another situation we're seeing a lot of chalk. Not a ton of guys out though necessarily. I'm just pulling this up. So Hendricks, Juzang, Parter, Preston, Sensabar are all on the injury report. They're all G Leaguers. So they're healthy. Like, I don't really get, again, kind of similar to Toronto, Why they're so popular? I mean, I love the matchup. I will say much better than the Toronto matchup. So I guess I get it from that angle. They're all a little bit cheap. But yeah, I don't know. Collins' price is up. Laurie's price is up a little bit. Clarkson on DK looks really, really good at 6,700, but he's popular. But where are you at on these Jazz? Because I agree, it is a great matchup. I definitely want to get to some, but a little bit surprised they're as popular as they are with no one out. But I guess no one's really out on this slate, and maybe that's the reason that we're seeing high ownership in some of these spots where teams are healthy.
Yeah, man, I really like this Utah side here. So we just saw Detroit and Indiana, or it wasn't Detroit and Indiana, but it was Detroit and Utah play
Mm-hmm.
each other the other day. It went into overtime and just had huge scores.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of expected something similar to that in this game. Starting on the top, I love Jordan Clarkson tonight. At 6,700, I don't love the price tag, but his ceiling here should be really big. So love getting to Clarkson, and then Markkanen's kind of in that same boat. I think Markkanen's a tad bit too cheap here.
Mm-hmm.
Been playing really good. He's only played around 30 minutes, but has been really good. So I love him as well. And then the bigs are so hard to predict because like John Collins and Olenek and Walker Kessler, like I'd love to play one of those guys. I just don't know which one's going to go off. So those
Right.
guys are tougher for me, but those first two I love.
Yeah, I'm with you on Laurie. I like him. Honestly, my second favorite after Clarkson though is probably Sexton. I think he's a little bit lower owned than he should be for his price, but agreed. I mean, it's a great spot. Whenever you get a team against Indy, they're probably going to be paced up, and the defense isn't as strong without Halliburton there, obviously. So a lot of reasons to like the Jazz here at home. They've been playing better basketball since they've gotten healthy too, so it's not like they've been blown out of the water as frequently. So I'm with you. Love Clarkson, like Laurie. I do really like Sexton. And yeah, I just want to touch on the front court quickly. I mean, when Collins was in the 5K range, I was playing him a ton. But yeah, now that he's up over 6K again, a little bit tougher for me to get to. But again, not a slate we have a ton of value to choose from. So I think there's certainly merit to going there. I saw that McConnell thing up. Again, not the best producer in the world, guys. Thanks for bearing with us on the technical side of things. But yeah, let's move into the last game here. Biggest piece of injury news: SGA is questionable. Do you have a hot take on this? Do you have any sort of inkling whether he's in or out tonight? Again, this game's much later than the rest, so it's kind of vital that you prepare for this news, even if I don't know, you don't know one way or the other going in. I mean, obviously, if he's out, we're going to be getting to someone like Giddy or Williams a lot. Isaiah Joe could potentially start at point guard. He's been good in certain spots. Carson Wallace, similar situation. I think one of those two guys could slide in the starting lineup, become very appealing. But the biggest bumps would be for Williams and Giddy. Decent spot for Holmgren. Don't love it against the Lakers. But yeah, how are you feeling about SGA? You think he's going to be in? Do you think he's going to be out? Do you have any sort of take here? I'm feeling a 50-50, honestly.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I think he's probably a true 50-50. Typically, we see SGA try to play when he can. I got to imagine against LA here, this is a pretty big game for the Western Conference for obviously their team and the Lakers.
Mm-hmm.
So I got to imagine he wakes up and plays for this game. But at the same time, the spread's only 1.5, and the Thunder have been really dominant. So yeah, I'm a little bit worried he may sit at the same time. So if he plays, love him here. If he sits, obviously guys like Jalen Williams, Josh Giddey, and even Case and Wallace as value could open up. So lots of fun fantasy options here.
Yeah. So okay. Then on the Lakers side, I mean, every single day we have to deal with their injury report. I think AD is probable, which is nice, but LeBron, as always, is questionable. I do expect him to play. It also looks like D'Angelo Russell is questionable with a non-COVID illness. Cam Reddish is out. Gabe Vincent has been a non-factor. He's out as well. But yeah, where are you at on the Lakers? I think if you're kind of building around that SGA news, it makes some sense to have a few of these guys in your lineup. Even the pay-ups, like if you have a Laker at utility, you could maybe pivot onto an SGA if you build yourself out that 2 for 2 or something like that. But yeah, how do you feel about LA here? At home, again, I do think LeBron probably plays, even though he's listed as questionable.
Yeah, so I think both LeBron and AD, great plays here. I prefer AD just in this matchup. But yeah, I think both guys are very much firmly in play here for LA.
Yeah, and that is a high total game. The Raptors and the Lakers game are 7 points lower than that Jazz Pacers game, but I think those are the three spots we're definitely going to be focusing on the most. But yeah, let's switch over now. I'm going to hit a quick refresh on the model, check the news. Again, if anyone has questions, feel free to get them into the chat. Definitely happy to answer. I know a lot of folks are watching football right now. The game's probably a blowout at this point, though. Last I checked, it was 21-0 Buffalo. So get on over. Let's start building for basketball. But yeah, let me refresh the news here. Models refreshed. And yeah, if you are using the model tonight, make sure you're selecting the DK or FanDuel main. Again, Martin Luther King Day, we did have some day games today that are not on the main slate. There is a game starting right now, also not on the main slate. But let's see here. So Lowry's suddenly on track to play. I saw him ruled out. Now he's ruled in. Jimmy Butler is in as well. I think that's all the news as far as the slate goes. Dalen Terry's available. Ayo Donsumu. I think that's all. Stru's still a game time decision. Everything else I think we talked through. So yeah, let's jump over to guards. I'll just put on point guard, shooting guard for DK. Sort by, I don't know. We'll do OF index first, but yeah, where are you at on guard tonight? Obviously, SGA is going to look good if he's in. We already talked about Donovan Mitchell. I'll kind of lead off, I guess, and just say he's probably my favorite pay up if I'm not really building around SGA. And if there is enough value to maybe get there, I'd love to. But yeah, sub 10% on a 5-game slate with Garland and Mobley out against a soft defense. I'm surprised by the Mitchell ownership. But yeah, where are you at on guard right now?
Yeah, I'm actually aligned with the top three OF index plays, SGA, Mitchell, and um,
Wait.
Derek White. Love all three of those guys. If I had to rank them in terms of my favorite, I'd probably go in terms of their ownership, probably SGA, Derek White, then Mitchell. Well, no, Mitchell, SGA, then Derek White. Sorry, I flipped
No,
that.
you're good. Okay.
But yeah, I like all three of those guys, and then Jordan Clarkson as well. Probably going to be the guys I get to the most in terms of my exposure.
Yeah, no, I tend to agree. I mean, I like all those guys you mentioned. Clarkson certainly looks good here. Barrett, again, reasonably priced on both sides. You can play him at forward. He's forward only on FanDuel. But yeah, I do like Quickly here against Boston. He's fine. I will say this. It's kind of tough to find guard value tonight. So we have this Dennis Smith Jr. chalk who's not even popping his value on DK. I mean, he's like towards the middle of the bottom of the page. Then over on FanDuel. Not even on the first page. So let me ask you this. Is there any guard value you like tonight? I guess I could sort by ownership, but it's tough, man, right now. I mean, Isaiah Joe's getting some ownership, but I think people are going to be hopeful that SGA's out if we're going to him. He does have some upside off the bench, but are there any plays like, I don't know, say around 5K or lower that you're even interested in at guard? It's definitely tough.
Yeah,
Oh,
so I think both, sub 5K Utah guards, Keontae George and Chris Dunn are definitely interesting, especially as pivots to a really chalky DSJ. Um, Keontae George is the one I really want to highlight here. He's been very, very good shooting the ball. Earlier on in the season, he was struggling shooting the ball, but now he's starting to get into his rhythm of things. So don't mind getting to Keontae George in that good game environment. And then Gary Trent as well at 4,300. I don't mind taking stops out as well.
yeah, no, it's interesting, and I agree. Those plays both make sense. The Dennis Jr. chalk's kind of crazy. Schroeder's coming off the bench as well. I definitely feel better, I'll say, about George than I do Chris Dunn, just because Dunn really does seem to be capped around 20 minutes. The Sam Merrill chalk on FanDuel is something I'm looking to get away from. Would much rather get to Nemhard, who hasn't been all that great either. But yeah, it's tough. I will say this, just generally speaking, value is tough to find at guard tonight unless we get something to open up. Obviously, SGA would be that piece that would open those things up. So I think we're going to have to look to pay down at other positions. So I'm very comfortable getting to a lot of SGA, a lot of Clarkson, a lot of Mitchell. But again, we're going to have to pay down in other positions. I know we have Thad Young at forward on FanDuel. I'll use that to transition into forwards here. So if we're mostly paying up at guard, I think we are going to have to find some value. Sam Hauser popping his chalk on DK. I love Jalen Williams with or without SGA in the lineup, but he is pretty pricey. But yeah, let's sort by OF index, and I'll let you kind of lead off. Where are you at on forward as things stand right now?
Yeah, so right there with you, love Jalen Williams. And then up top, we mentioned Tatum earlier, but I love him in the spot
Mm-hmm.
against Toronto. Seems too cheap here, probably by a couple $100 on DraftKings. So love Tatum. And then 80 against OKC. Just really like the spot here against Chet Holmgren in OKC. So
Yeah.
yeah, and then in the mid tier, we already went through Bear, but I really like Karis LeVert if Max Strus is out.
Mm.
One of my favorite low owned mid tier plays.
Yeah, no, I like it. I mean, the price is up on Levert. He has been really solid, though. I'll bring up Cam Johnson as a play. Just a little bit cheaper than he probably should be, knowing his upside here. Probably a nut that's going to go overlooked. Bridges, his price is down, especially on DK at 7,300. I think he's fine. But again, as we talk through this, I want to bring the sliders down because if we're paying up at guard, it's going to be tough to pay up at forward. I agree. I love Tatum. I love AD. If we can get to them, great. But I do think we're going to be kind of stuck in like the 6-ish K range. And we'll definitely build in a minute here. But yeah, I mean, Bruce Brown's still questionable. If he's in, OF Index definitely likes him. I mentioned Cam Johnson. Good to see him popping. It is nice that Chris Dunn has small forward on DK. I will say that. But yeah, man, it is tough. I do like Jovic. But with Butler out, it's going to be tough to really gauge his upside. I mean, he's coming off 2 games in a row where he didn't even hit 20 fantasy points with Butler in there. I don't know. Call me crazy. I don't mind Torian Prince at really low ownership. He allows you to kind of pivot maybe a little bit with those late games. Hasn't been great, but usually can get you over 20 fantasy points, which is all you really need here. Hauser, on most slates, I wouldn't be rushing to get to as chalk, but it's almost like a necessary evil today. Like, I mean, value is scarce. So, like, if we want to pay up at all, like, we're really going to be kind of plucking from nothing. So, yeah. Any hot takes here? I'll sort by ownership on DK while we take a look.
Yeah, so trying to think from like cheap guys, we didn't really mention a ton of cheap guys. You mentioned Cam Johnson in the mid tier.
Mm-hmm.
Just trying to see who else like really cheap. Let me sort the model. Make sure
Yeah,
I
pulled
get
it
the right.
down
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe
it's
Obi
rough.
Toppin, like
Yeah,
model has him as value. I don't. Yeah, it's really tough, man. Like
it is.
I don't know value. I just wish we had like a value play where like okay, let's lock and load this 100% of our lineups, like a Jaden Hardy type of play the other night. We don't
Yeah,
have that tonight.
yeah, we definitely don't. And let me say this: if Naismith's in, I think he's really good here. 5,200 on DK, 5,300 on FanDuel. If he's out, you could just as easily pivot to top, and he's cheaper on both sites. I know that's one of the later games, but if you have Naismith in, just make sure he's in a spot where Toppin's available. That's power forward only on FanDuel, but that's a very easy pivot to make. And again, I like Naismith if he's in at his price. I wanted to say Fontecchio. He's been so inconsistent, though. I don't mind him as a large field play. Someone I could see mixing in. We brought up Levert earlier. If Strus is out, I think Okoro isn't the craziest play in the world. We have seen upside out of him, but all these guys I'm listing, it's not like I feel great about any of them. It's more just kind of a product of the slate. We did talk a little bit about the Nets situation with Day'Ron Sharp out. That should mean more minutes as a big for both Finney Smith and Royce O'Neal. Neither have been very good, but it's like a last piece in. I don't think it's insane. Kelly Olynyk is probably a better option with kind of a similar profile as those two guys, but again, inconsistent minutes for him. Really tough to read that front court rotation. But yeah, man, it's ugly. And I'm hoping maybe we get some of this news. But for now, I think I'm going to load up on Naismith. And then if he's out, I could pivot to not only Toppin on FanDuel, but also some Jalen Smith. Just a very easy pivot to make. But again, man, it's tough. We're probably going to have to eat some Sam Hauser chalk over on DK.
Yeah, I don't love it, but yeah, like you mentioned, it's really, really stiff finding, value here. So, yeah, both Smith and Topham look really good in this out. So I'm right there with you.
Okay, so 2 things from the Prince here. First, Strus is in. So that's going to make Levert and Okoro kind of tough to get to. I don't mind getting to a little bit of Strus, though, especially if he's not going to be that popular. I'll get to that one in just a second. And then I'm going to use this to transition to centers here. Do you all trust Thad that high owned? In short, no, but I think we have to tonight, mostly because there's no value at other positions, and we know he's going to start at center. So yeah, I can't say I do trust him, but I don't feel great about any of the pivots. And then just while we're here going through comments, I will bring up David S. is just wondering who's the top favorite high-end player on today's 5-game slate. High-end player. Yeah, so SGA, I'll do this for you, man. Welcome aboard, first and foremost. Definitely check out the links below if you're not already a member. But yeah, AD against OKC. I mean, Holmgren's a good defender, but he's going to be undersized here. Definitely have to like Anthony Davis. He's right at the top of OF Index. But the OF index for NBA is unlike the NFL. It's not really factoring in salary. So when you look at Tatum at 14.4, you're getting him a little bit cheaper. I actually think he might be the better play point per dollar. But it's between these three. It's AD, Tatum, SGA. SGA is questionable. The reason we like Mitchell is he's up there and also very, very low owned, so we like him as a tournament play. But I think if you're starting lineups, it's safe to just go to Tatum. But yeah, maybe if you're building for that late game and you have SGA in, try to use him at utility on DK, or have a plan where you can maybe pivot off of him on FanDuel to maybe someone like AD. Because those are the top three plays on the slate. Really do like Mitchell, though, at his ownership. But um, yeah, I
Yeah.
think that's where we're at. But yeah, let's go back to centers here. And like I said, I mean, no value anywhere today. I think we're kind of stuck with that young. I don't mind it though. Like again, it's just a product of the slate. I'd rather eat that chalk and just be with the field and pay up at other positions than playing some of the ugly value we discussed so far. But what other centers are you looking at? Obviously, Anthony Davis. We talked about it forward. Porzingis probably looks a little bit better than usual with Jalen Brown out. But yeah, I mean, we're probably gonna have to live in the mid to low range today for the most part.
Yeah, so I want to mention Dre Allen up top too. Like
Mm,
he's been crushing at 8.5K. Same thing kind of with Mitchell. If you can get to one of Mitchell or Allen, I like both of them tonight. Obviously with no Garland, both those guys, and then no Mobley, both those guys should always look good.
mhm.
And then yeah, Kristaps, maybe you can look to in tournaments. Obviously, we prefer Tatum and Derek White there, but he's definitely always in play in tournaments. And then, yeah, Thad Young, like, I don't love him as a play, but at 4,200, when we're lacking value, he has shown a pretty decent floor and decent ceiling. So, yeah, probably just going to eat that chalk. And then Kelly Olynyk, like I mentioned earlier, the bigs on Utah, like, we really don't know which one, but I think, we can take stabs at him in tournaments in this high pace game environment.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. Collins, Kessler, Olynyk. I'd probably only want one in
Yeah.
each lineup. Like the minutes have been all over the place for all three of those guys, but if you hit the right one, you're gonna feel pretty damn good about yourself tonight. So yeah, I think all those guys are in play. And yeah, I mean, as much as we like that young, it's just a very obvious pivot in tournaments to get to some Jonte Porter. Definitely riskier, but we have seen ceiling games out of him at this price. Price exactly the same as that. Wouldn't play them in a lineup together, but if that gets in foul trouble or something like that, it's going to be Porter who definitely benefits directly. So that's someone I'll be looking at. I don't mind Claxton here. Again, with Dayron Sharp out, he should see more secure minute for. I think we can project him over 30 minutes consistently now, which we weren't necessarily doing earlier in the season. I do see Jalen Smith popping. I'm going to feel better about that if Naismith's out. Again, kind of inconsistent. I hate reading Rick Carlisle's mind, but at his price on the slate, he does make some sense. But again, I'm not going to feel great about that unless we get word that Naismith's out, so we're going to have to keep an eye on that one. I like the Jared Allen call. That's a good one, man, especially at low ownership. Miles Turner, good matchup for him as well. Again, not the most consistent minutes, but there are not that many centers on the slate that do have consistent minutes. But yeah, I mean, we're kind of stuck in this mid range, so I'll definitely get into a lot of Thad tonight. I do want to pivot to some Jonte Porter. I'm just playing the 25 max on FanDuel tonight, the $2. I'm not doing much single entry, so I'm gonna mix. I'm gonna have a lot of Thad chalk, but I'm definitely gonna pivot probably 5 to 8 lineups to maybe Porter just directly as a pivot. And I think either way that should shake out all right. But yeah, I do love Bam, but again, it's like we can't list all these guys that are payups, unfortunately.
I know.
Um, I don't know, man. Any other center takes before we switch over to DK and try to build something?
Yeah, no, probably just the main priorities, Stadion, Claxton, and then Anthony Davis, you mentioned. Probably the three guys I want to get to the most. So.
Yeah, I'm totally with you. All right, so let's see here. All right, so I'm just refreshing the news feed just to see if we got any other lineups or anything like that. Again, Slate locks at 7. We will have someone in Discord. It might be Chuck, it might be Eric. It's not you, is it? You're not
No,
talking
it's
to
not
me
me.
today.
I think
Yeah,
it's one of those two, I think. Yeah.
yeah. So we got someone in the Discord. I'll plug the Discord here. I mean, we're cheap just to get access to the model, access to the content, access to the Discord. In NBA, more than any other sport, it's vital that you have a community around you kind of talking you through these things as they happen. This model is updating in real time, even after the slate locks. Um, but yeah, so Struce is in and starting. Okoro's starting again. I don't mind him as a value play. Again, pretty risky, but just enough upside that I think you can maybe mix him in. Honestly, we have no value, but no other news right now. So let me drag over this DK window I have here, and let's start a build. So where should we begin? I guess is the question.
Ooh, so I think we should do one build with Donovan Mitchell for sure, and then I think
Okay.
we should do another build with Jason Tatum. So we can do either one first.
Yeah, I'll click Mitchell just because he
Okay.
was in point guard, and that's what I defaulted to.
Yeah.
So are we stuck with Hauser's value probably?
Yeah, definitely Hauser. I think.
And honestly, I think in lineups without Tatum, maybe Hauser makes more sense. In the Tatum lineup, maybe we could try to get away from that chalk because if Tatum's going off, that could cut into Hauser's minutes directly. So,
Yeah.
um, again, this is me reaching for a take here, but I do think if we're building two lineups, it makes sense to maybe get off the Hauser chalk in the one that we're going to Tatum. Shooting guard. I know we like some of the Utah guys. We do want to be very conscious of salary. We have 6,500 RJ Barrett. I mean, that's probably one we should consider.
Jordan
Um,
Clarkson we can look to. I'm trying to think what
yeah,
other.
I do like Clarkson. Let's go Clarkson. Wow,
Okay.
he's only 200 more than Barrett. I prefer him to Barrett, honestly. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
Power forward. Thad's what? Center only? I think I'll
Yeah. I
put
wish he was
him
power
in.
forward.
Let me put that in its center. Let's take a look. We're left with 6,300 per, which actually isn't as bad as I thought we might be. I mean, Jovic is kind of pricey, 5,500. We could do the Naismith thing. I said. I think
Yeah.
is he. Yeah, let's go Naismith. And again, if Naismith's out, you just pivot directly to Toppin. It is a late game. Ideally, you'd probably have him in your bottom forward or utility spot, but for now, we'll just leave him there. Then we got 67 to 6,800 left for guard forward and utility. Um, I don't know. I mean, I do like Derek White. We can try White, or do we want to pay up with something else? Was there a value guard you liked?
Yeah, Derek White's fine. If we don't have Tatum in this build, I think Derek White makes a lot of sense here.
I agree. I like that call. I mean, we could still go to Barrett here if we want. And then we're left with 6,600. This isn't bad. This is kind of. I mean, you could go to Giddy and then maybe pivot off him if. What's his name? If SGA's
Yeah,
in.
yeah.
Yeah, I
So
think.
real quick, let's talk about Giddy because like his minutes have really fluctuated up and down.
Mhm.
If SGA was out, I would have to imagine they would come up, but like man, his rotations have been just all over the place.
Yeah, it's weird. I mean, looking through here, the Portland game, he had 53 fantasy points in 22 minutes. That was that ridiculous game where Portland lost by like 60. That's the only blowout that we're looking at, though. So yeah, the minutes have been fluctuating. He's very similar to Mathurin, honestly,
Yeah.
in that really good when he's on the floor and his shots going in. I prefer Mathurin as a player, but that doesn't necessarily matter. But yeah, it's just tough to trust the minutes. But yeah, so let's say we did have Giddy and SGA's ruled in. I mean, I guess what pivots from that game are there? I mean, could we get to like a Reeves? I don't know that I even want to.
I mean, Jalen Williams at 6,900, I think would be in play
Oh yeah,
either way.
I mean, I
Um,
really like Jalen
yeah, we
Williams.
could.
Like honestly, Williams even with
Yeah.
SGA in, I
Mhm.
feel pretty good about. But
He's
we
been
probably have to
yeah,
come
he's
down a
been
little
really
bit.
good.
Yeah, he's been awesome, man. I'm definitely a fan of his. Yeah, I mentioned Cam Johnson earlier. We also have John Collins here. So if you go Jalen at utility, probably have to get off Barrett or pay down a guard, something else. But yeah, I mean, this is a pretty solid build. But let's shake it up now. Let's clear
Okay.
this out, and we'll put Tatum in first and see where this leads us. Um, Again, so since we're going to Tatum, maybe we don't need as much Derek White. I still think we're probably eating that young chalk for now.
Yeah.
Kind of is what it is, but yeah, I don't really want to play the Dennis Smith Jr. chalk.
I don't either,
Uh,
man. I don't know what it is.
yeah, it's weird. Like he has upside. I don't mind the price, honestly, but like, that chalk is just not the sharpest play in my opinion.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know. We went Clarkson the other. Maybe we go Sexton for a little bit cheaper.
Yeah.
I don't mind that. Shooting guard. We're at 59 per. We skip Barrett in the other one. Maybe we go
Let's go.
Barrett.
Let's go Barrett. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I like Barrett a lot.
And we got to go a little bit cheaper. We got Buddy Hield, who's kind of boomer bust. Chris Dunn, who's kind of boomer bust. Fontecchio. These are all really boomer bust type plays. If we go a little bit higher, we can maybe get Mathurin. He's pricey on DK, but I do like him. Struce is in. Don't love the price. I mean, there's just not much value. Does Tatum have both forward positions though? Yeah, we could play him at small forward.
Yeah.
Maybe we do that. Go back to small forward. Maybe we get better value at the power forward. I think we will. Yeah, because now we're looking at guys like Smith, Jovic, Toppin, Naismith. I mean, we could still do the Naismith thing. If he's out,
Yeah,
just go to Obi. Then we're
definitely.
left with 6K per. Uh, Numhard's half decent. Cam Thomas is upside. He's boomer bust. Schroeder is chalk. I don't love. Keontae George. I
Yeah,
know
we
we
got
already have
that.
Sexton, but I don't mind it. I think Dunn's losing minutes more than anyone else.
Let's throw George in, kind of like when everyone's playing DSJ. Let's have DSJ be our George. As
Yeah,
let's say that.
yeah,
That's
that's a good call. And I think they're similar plays. They're going to play similar minutes. So the much better matchups, obviously, against the Pacers than the Heat. All right, so 6,600 per forward. Yeah, this ain't bad, honestly. Um, I don't know. We got
um
we could even pay. Maybe we go. We want Jalen Williams already.
yeah.
I
Do
mean,
you
if
want
we
to
go, go
go
ahead.
ahead?
What are you gonna say?
I would say maybe double center with Nick Claxton. You mentioned Nick Claxton.
I
Do you
don't
want to
mind it.
try
Yeah, let's
that?
try that. Yeah, I was gonna say market and see what we had left, but let's
Oh yeah,
go
marking it
classic.
too. I like that too.
Yeah, I mean, so if we go, we'll do both. We
Okay.
got Claxton here. That leaves us with John Collins, which I'm fine with, or Al Horford. Honestly, with Brown out, could see a little bit of a boost. Yeah, you go Horford or something like that. You got three centers, but yeah. So the other one was we were gonna go with Laurie,
Yep.
and that leaves us something cheap, 4,800.
Tennis chess.
Dennis Smith Jr. is in our lineup anyway. Yeah, I mean it's tough. I mean we could go Olynyk, who's risky.
Yeah.
Fontecchio. I mean I don't feel great about any of these guys, but I mean maybe you get the SGA news and you could go to someone like Joe or Carson. But I mean for now it probably would be Smith Jr.
Yeah.
But for the sake of this, let's go Kelly O. Just to be different. But
Yeah.
yeah, I think we're in the range. I mean, no great news, unfortunately. Again, just keep an eye on that SGA stuff. But guys, any last second questions? Feel free to get them in. But yeah, Jayhawk, any kind of last thoughts on this slate? I mean, definitely kind of a tricky one for a 5 gamer.
Yeah, it does seem really tricky, right? Like no value. All there's a ton of mid tier guys that are all like 20-25% owned. So should be a fun slate. Yeah, as always, you mentioned it. Discord, it's just so big. Just being in there after lock, during lock, even before lock, we'll just provide you with updates. And all of us are really good. Eric, me, you, and Chuck are all on the top of our games all the time. So
Oh
make
yeah,
sure to hop on after the stream.
yeah, man. No, I couldn't say it better myself. I think we're gonna have to wait on that SGA news. I honestly think he's gonna play more likely than not. And again, if you're building with SGA, just make sure you have a plan to pivot because it's weird that we have these island games. I mean, both sides have been trying to chop them off, but I do like that they kept it on since would have been only a 4 gamer otherwise. Again, big gap too. If you're going to Naismith, you can pivot the top and just make sure you have them on in power forward on FanDuel. I've made that mistake before where you kind of screw yourself. You're left with no pivots. Make sure that if you are going to Naismith, you put him at power forward, not small forward. So you can go to Obi Toppin or Jalen Smith if you want in that situation. But yeah, everyone, please like the video. Also subscribe to the channel. That helps us get more of these out to you for free. Helps us climb the algorithm, compete with our competitors, and all that good stuff. But yeah, happy MLK Day, everyone. I had today off from my 9 to 5, which is nice. So ready to go build lineups, but keep an eye on news. Have fun and good luck, everyone. Take care.
Love everyone.